What's up? Store of value. That's the reason why I started this company back in 2015, right? Fortified Realty Group has always approached real estate from an investment perspective, right? Always thinking about real estate from an investment point of view, not just helping people find their dream home and, doing all that typical stuff. I always looked at it from an investment perspective. And I think that has benefited our clients immensely over the last 10 plus years. Okay. So I guess the question is, what's a store of value, right? A store of value is an asset that appreciates or grows over time, protecting the value of your money and your purchasing power in spite of inflation. Okay. And we all know about inflation. We've been living with inflation for the last 5 plus years, right? Everyone knows about inflation. We've really been living with it for the last 100 years. But to the average American, they've really felt it the last 5 years. And when you zoom out further, you see how less far your money goes, right? You know, and it's evident everywhere, right? So how do you protect yourself? Because if you just work every day and put money in a bank account, it's worth less and less every year. And the government will tell you, oh, 2 to 3%. I would argue inflation is really 14% or higher. Okay, when you factor in money printing and a lot of other things that the government does that contribute to the overall devaluation of the dollar. So, what are four options you have to store your value for your future self and protect and hedge against inflation? Well, this blog, I argue that there's four potential things you could use, and I kind of go back and forth as to the pros and cons of each. We look at real estate in Fall River, Mass, Bitcoin. I'm a big Bitcoin guy. Gold and stocks. Okay, so real estate. We'll start with that. Right, Fall River real estate grows in value. It pays rental income. Right, it's tangible. A lot of people like that. You can see it. It's there. The best thing about real estate is leverage. It's so easy to leverage. Most people buy a house with a mortgage. If you put 5% down, that's 20x leverage, right? You're borrowing basically 20 times more than you're putting down. You know what I mean? So that's great. Like you can't do that with a lot of other assets. And real estate generally rolls with inflation. And there are times when it outperforms inflation. And Fall River's a growing area. It's in high demand. Real estate generally does well in a town like Fall River, right? You want to invest in real estate in areas that are growing. Okay, Bitcoin. Bitcoin far outgrows real estate, but it's very volatile. And a lot of people can't stomach that volatility. So it's not for everyone. And it's not tangible in the sense that like you can't drive down the street and see your Bitcoin, right? But it is tangible when you think about the computer network that it's built on, the immense amount of computing power and energy that goes into securing the network. It's the most secure network in the world. So it is tangible in that way. So Bitcoin will grow fast, but it'll crash fast. And there's a lot of volatility. And if you like volatility, you like Bitcoin. If you don't like volatility, Bitcoin's not for you. Okay. Gold. Gold's a safe haven. It's been around for 5,000 years. It's tangible, right? You can hold it, you can see your gold, but how do you secure gold? It takes a lot. If you have a lot of physical gold, I mean, look at Fort Knox, right? So it's expensive to secure. How do you know gold is real? So there's some risk when you buy it, right? How do you know? But over time though, I don't think gold performs as well as people think. When you overlay the gold chart over, the money supply chart and inflation, it really doesn't keep up the way people think. And I think part of that is gold kind of has an unlimited supply. There's a lot of gold out there, and the higher the price goes, the easier it is to get the gold, or not easier, but the more financially beneficial it is, right? There's probably an asteroid out there with $10 quadrillion worth of gold. And when gold gets to a certain price, Elon will create a rocket and go get that gold and bring it back, or somebody will, right? But again, gold is steady Eddie. People like it. It's classic, 5,000 years of proven history. It works for some people. All right. And finally, stocks, right? Certain stocks will outperform and store your value much better than others. But again, stocks are volatile, and you're subject to overall market whims. Goes up and down. Everyone remembers 2008, the great financial crisis, 2020 and COVID. So it just depends, right? There's some volatility there, but some stocks can vastly outperform inflation and even beat real estate. But if you go with the S&P 500, that generally just rolls with inflation. So overall, what's the win? Well, I think if you're in Fall River, real estate is a compelling argument, right? It generally outperforms. It's a growing city. There's a lot of investment coming here, and our brokerage focuses on real estate from an investor perspective. So if that's something you're thinking about, you want to learn more about store of value and how to protect yourself for the future, so future you will thank today you, let's talk. Let's have a conversation, and we can run some math, and we can even put some scenarios together and compare, whatever you're going to invest in real estate and how we think it could perform if we put it into Bitcoin, stocks, gold. We can build some models and kind of get creative with it. All right. So let's connect. There's contact forms here on this blog. Let's have a meeting and come up with the best store value for you. All right. Thanks, guys.